Hi everybody, so today I have another exciting interview to share with you, and I did this interview with another recovery warrior. Her name is Leydi, and she's now fully recovered from her eating disorder. And I know this interview is pretty long, but we just had like so much to talk about, and she had so much to share. We talked about limiting beliefs and obviously the body image issues and her being plus size and actress and all the emotions that come up and your thoughts and just so much good content. So I really hope you enjoy today's interview. So Leydi, thank you so much for coming here today.
No, it's my pleasure, Lisa. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And by the way, for the viewers, this is our second time doing the interview because last time, like something just, I don't know, the universe or somebody didn't want the recording to work properly. So yeah, who knows? Maybe this time we have even better information here. Yeah. So maybe
Everything happens for a reason.
yes. So maybe you can just introduce yourself to the viewers.
Yeah, of course. So, hey everyone, my name is Leydi Morales. I am also a fellow YouTuber here on YouTube, of course, and I am your girl for all things law of attraction and spiritual awakening. It's mainly what I focus on. I love teaching everybody about, law of attraction techniques, how to manifest, but also how to really go to the core beliefs of removing negative subconscious blocks and limiting beliefs, which I think is absolutely 100% crucial and important when you're recovering from an eating disorder. So that's kind of what I focus on, and I love it. I love doing what I do. So yeah.
Yes, and people who know me and what I share is that I also absolutely love the law of attraction, and this is
Yes.
also one thing we really connected with you, and yeah. But maybe you can just start by sharing your story. Like, how did you develop the eating disorder, and how was it, and how did you overcome it?
Of course. Yeah. And I'll keep this as concise as possible because we're all busy, of course. But pretty much how my eating disorder started was it actually started when I was a little girl. Back when, like, the earliest childhood memory I remember is when I had a loved family member, aka my dad, who made a comment about my weight and who made a comment about, something along the lines of, if you are fat, nobody's ever going to love you, or you're never going to find a husband. And from that stuck with me for so long, and years of eating disorder kept the years and years of eating disorder started to were going to follow, because I tried everything, of course, to lose weight. And I also noticed that the more I tried to lose weight, the more that I was actually gaining weight. And so through my entire youth, I was up and down with my weight. And I was never able, every time I went shopping for clothes, I had to buy a different size. I never was able to stay at a steady weight. So that was how it actually started. And then I didn't really take it to the next level though until I started high school, and it was around like my sophomore junior year when I went to my local gym and they were advertising like a boot camp, like lose X pounds in X weeks or whatever. And I remember like thinking like I need to sign up for this. And I remember, I don't know how I convinced my parents, but I was like, please, because I was still 16, 15, 16. I'm like, please let me sign up for this. I really want to do it. I really want to lose weight, whatever. So then I signed up, and somehow along the way of me doing boot camp or whatever, I remember getting a hold of some very dangerous diet pills that were kind of like the black market kind of diet pills. But I remember using my allowance money to pay for these diet pills, and I remember because they were banned from the FDA, and I remember that when taking them, I had absolutely no appetite. I had a lot of energy, and it was breaking me out. I was losing a lot of hair. Like, the side effects were really horrible, and the appetite was just gone. And I remember in like 2 months, it was like during the summer of my junior year, during 2 months, I lost like 50 pounds, which is a lot. It's like a lot. And and then of course I get to school, start school again, and then of course all the compliments started flooding in, and I started feeling really good about myself. Like everybody was noticing my weight loss, everybody was talking about it. And I continued with those diet pills but even eventually with those diet pills, my weight stabilized. So it plateaued, I should say. It plateaued. But either way, though, I still took them. And during that semester, it was probably like what I would consider like the best semester ever because I felt so good about myself, right? And so then, even though I was like, everything looked great and externally, my hair, I remember my hair was falling out so much. Like it looked like a piece of I would run my hair in the shower and it looked like a piece of hair extension. And I have a lot of hair. So when as soon as as soon as I realized how much hair I was losing, and not only that, but how like my energy was starting to like minimize every single day, and all I wanted to do was sleep. I was like, maybe it's time for me to stop taking these diet pills because I knew I knew for a fact intuitively that the diet pills were making all this happen. So then it was like my second semester at that time, and as soon as I stopped those diet pills, I stopped taking them. All hell broke loose. All hell broke loose because I could not stop eating. And I would eat and eat and eat. It was like, I don't know if you've experienced this, Elisa, but it was like you were no longer, you have left the building. It was just your body, just autopilot. Like it's the most scariest feeling in the world because I felt like I was not eating. It was my body that was shoving food in my mouth. Like I had no control whatsoever. And I was craving like all these like high sugar stuff, like frosting and like really, really high sugary stuff. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? I'm like, I have to get back on the diet pills. I have to get back on the diet pills. So what did I do? I got back on the diet pills, taking like 2, 3, sometimes 4 a day. Because even in the bottle it says 1 is enough, but I was taking like 3 or 4 a day. And it did control the situation for like a week or two. And I lost maybe like 10, like, I don't want to trigger anybody, but I did lose a lot of weight within those 2 or 3 weeks. And even then though, like I was like, okay, maybe this time if I stop taking them, it'll work. But no, it didn't. But I knew I had to stop those diet pills because my hair was really brittle. It was really dull. My acne was bad. I could not function. So, and then I started switching to like other diet pills, and it was my hormonal system. Everything was just jacked up, and I was binge eating all the time. And eventually, I was binge eating so much and taking a lot of supplements that at the end of the day, towards the end of my senior year, while all of my friends were out like having fun, they were out planning bonfires. I was spending like 6 hours at the gym after school. I was, spending hours meal planning, spending hours doing like the calculations of calories and all that stuff. And then I realized like, is this really how I see myself living for the rest of my life? Just doing this all the time? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, and that was when it came to me, like, I have an eating disorder. That's when I realized, like, I have an eating disorder. Like it's getting in the way of me living my life. And then when I realized this, it was when it was like consciously I started being aware of all of my friends who were quote unquote naturally thin and who were able to eat everything and anything they wanted. They never thought about their weight. They were focused on life. They were focused on their activities while I was trying everything and anything to lose weight. And not only could I not stay at a certain way, but anything that I ate, I would gain weight, even if it was healthy or not healthy, quote unquote healthy or not healthy. So then that's when I'm like, okay, I need to recover. Somehow along the way, I got a hold of the book Women, Food, and God. I don't know if anybody's heard of that book, but by Janine Roth. But I got a hold of that book, and that was when intuitive eating first started getting introduced to me. And it's funny because I spent so much time trying to recover instead of actually just applying what I was learning into taking action, because I was like researching, trying to make sure I got recovery right. Eventually, though, I did realize like I was doing so much research and I was spending so much time trying to recover that if I was really recovered, I would not be spending hours and hours doing research and all that. So I'm like, I need to start acting as if I was recovered and trusting that I have the answers, that I've learned and done my part. I just need to start applying that to my life and taking action. And so then eventually I did recover. My weight stabilized. And even then, after recovery, my even though I was still what people would consider very overweight, obese, whatever, even that, I my hunger cues were on point. I knew my satiety levels. I had clear skin. My digestive system was amazing. My hair was back to its big voluminous hair, like it was back to normal. And I had energy. I felt great. But even then, I would go to the doctor, or I would have friends and people comment like, "Oh, you need to lose weight. Like, it's not healthy for you. Like, it's not healthy, whatever." Like all that BS. And so then eventually I started hanging around the wrong crowd. And well, I started hanging around people who were obsessed with weight loss or whatever. And I joined the gym again. And that was when I was like, oh my God, I don't know what, all of a sudden one day I came to the conclusion that I need to lose weight. Like, I need to lose weight. And I started like intermittent fasting. And then from there, I started tracking calories again, and I relapsed. So, long story short, when I realized during my relapse that like I'm back to square one to where I was a few years ago, was actually when I read your book, Elisa, and when I was watching your YouTube videos. It's somehow the universe just made it pop into my life. I don't know what video I watched, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I done screwed up again. Like, I fell for this trap again. So eventually I was like, I'm gonna have to go through recovery one more time. Even though I did lose a lot of weight during my, when I relapsed the second time, I'm gonna have to go through this shit one more time. Can I cuss? Yeah. Oh yeah, I can cuss. I'm gonna have to go through this crap one more time. I'm gonna have to deal with the emotional side of recovery, the mental side, the spiritual side, the physical side. Which I was like, oh. And but I'm like, this time it's like I'm never falling for this trap again, because when I relapsed, even when I was doing everything and anything to lose weight, hiring personal trainers again and doing all these calorie counting and macro counting, my weight, even though I did lose a lot of weight to begin with, it stabilized. And the harder that I tried, the harder that it was to lose weight. And that's when I was like, what the hell am I doing? So I watched your video and I was like, here we go again. Like let's get, I know, let's get this. So and then I read your book and I started recovering again. And that was when I also went into my spiritual awakening, because I realized that I've been using restriction and dieting and weight loss as a way to run away from my feelings of unworthiness, and which is, it all boils down to your core beliefs. We fall into this trap of in sort of, or through dieting, because we think it's going to make us happier. And I love that quote that you put on your Instagram the other day about dieting. Dieting causes everything that it promises to fix, or something like that. And like, it's so 100% true. So that's pretty much in a nutshell. I try to be as concise as possible, but that's pretty much in a nutshell how that happened. I recovered. I went through my spiritual awakening, and here we are. Here we are. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing all that, and there is just so much I can relate to, and so much I want to like comment on, and yeah. So like when you described your the diet pills and stuff, and I have also like taken diet pills in like way back, and I haven't even mentioned it because I have completely like forgot about it. But I think I had a period when I also took like diet pills. But the thing is that like your body, like thanks to those diet pills, like they suppressed your hunger cues. Like you were in starvation, and after that, like you had extreme hunger. Like you had exactly every symptom that a person in starvation has. What you said, like the hair falling out, and like your hormonal issues and everything, and
no energy.
But actually it was your body's kind of cry for help. And what kind of frustrates me so much is that, as you said, when you lost the weight thanks to diet pills, everybody were like, wow, like good for you, like, oh, you look amazing. Like nobody freaking cares like what the person is actually doing. Like it's so like we are living in delusion, like weight loss means like, oh, the person is becoming healthy.
Happiness.
Happiness. Yes.
No,
And
it's
the way,
bullshit.
yeah, it's like
It's
kind of
bullshit.
reinforced. It's reinforced like, oh, this is how you get acceptance. This is how you are being good. And at the same time, you felt like crap. And in
Yeah,
contrast,
yeah.
where you started your recovery, you gained weight, as you said, like you had all of those positive symptoms, like all of the things went better, right? Like your hair was again back
My
normal,
hair was back.
and hunger cues and
Mm-hmm.
everything, but you gained weight. So I think like externally, people will say like, oh, what happened to you, right?
Exactly.
Like,
And if I can chime in really quick, because at my job, there's one girl who's been trying to lose weight, or she's lost a lot of weight, but she's like, during her lunch, she'll like work out and then she'll eat like XYZ foods and that's it. And so then everybody's complimenting on her weight loss or whatever. And I made a vow that I'm never going to compliment or anybody, whether weight gain, weight loss, I'm never going to compliment anybody on their weight because it's none of my business. And so she comes up to me and she's like, "Lady, you're the only one in this office who has not complimented me on my weight loss." And then I was like, "I'm sorry." And then I told her, I was like, honest, and I just like made up something. I'm like, honestly, I made it a vow to not compliment on anybody's weight loss because I had a friend putting me, but like my friend, I was like, I had a friend who she lost a lot of weight before, but she was actually doing it very, very unhealthy. And the more that people complimented on her, the more that she wanted to stick with those unhealthy habits. So that's why I made it a vow to not do it again, because I never know what somebody's going through. And then you could tell her face, she was like stunned. Like she wanted me to compliment her on her weight. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to, you know? So it's just, we use that as validation of worthiness. And I'm just like, no,
yeah,
what the hell?
yeah.
No.
So where are you today? For example, like you said, your father was making some comments. So how you are now with your family, and just
Yeah.
generally, like what people might think about your body, or how do you deal with this?
Yeah. That's such a great question. So it's crazy because, and the reason why I started my YouTube channel and started getting into spiritual awakening was because, or getting into learning about spiritual awakening was because I realized that I was using my restriction and weight as a way to obviously feel good about myself and to feel worthy, but also because I thought it was going to get me a boyfriend. And that comment that my father made years ago, I carried with me for so long, and I suppressed it for so long. And it was initially the belief I am not worthy because of my weight. And so it manifested externally into dieting, into restriction, into binge eating disorder. And it also manifested into like my romantic life, my personal romantic life, because no matter how thin I was, Elisa, no matter how thin I was, I still did not feel worthy, and I still felt like the fattest girl in the world, no matter how thin I was, and I felt like the ugliest girl in the world. And so I thought like after I was an X weight that I was gonna, like get all the guys, right? But it was actually not the case. Like nothing changed. Absolutely nothing changed. I still was very insecure around men. I was still and then not only that, but I tried hard during my life to please my father, and it still get humiliated and shamed. And I will say though, because I don't want people to get a bad image of my dad, because he's hardworking. I come from an immigrant family, so he taught me the value of hard work. But it was during a very dark time in our family at that time that so if anything, I thank him that because if it weren't for that, who knows where I'd be today. I wouldn't know what I know today. So I thank him for that. But and we're definitely in a better state now. But when I was recovering, as far as my family, I remember I pulled, my father still doesn't really know like a good idea, which it's one of those things like I don't want to bother to explain it to him. It's like for mental illness, how it's quote unquote mental illness, how it's looked in or I should say, yeah, mental illness, how it's looked in our culture or something like this, like an eating disorder, it's looked as like kind of like you want attention and you want to feel whatever. So I didn't I didn't care to explain it. But I remember I did pull my mom to the side. I'm like, look, I'm paying for therapy out of pocket. I was like a part-timer somewhere in a retail store. I'm like, I'm saving my money to pay for therapy. I'm going through this. I don't know what's going to happen to my weight. I would just appreciate like any comments about what I'm eating or weight just be set aside. My mom never really said anything about weight or food. It was mainly my dad, but um, so my family was very I don't know if I want to say supportive, but they were very like they gave me my space. They never said anything about that. It was mainly more like outside people who were commenting on my weight gain because I was gaining a lot of weight really rapidly, and it was mainly people like, "What happened?" Or like you said, like, "What happened?" Or stupid BS like that. My doctors would be like, "What happened?" Like you're starting to become unhealthy. Your BMI is at this, that, the other, and I'm like, I gave him the finger in my head. I was like, whatever. I listened to your expert advice for years, and it led me to where I was. So shut up. And um, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like dealing with a lot of people ask me, and I see on your Facebook page as well, like a lot of people ask, like, how do you deal with the weight gain, or how do you deal with comments from other people? And as hard as this may seem, but the way you deal with it is you have to deal with it in a sense of um, they are a reflection of your subconscious blocks and beliefs. Like because now every now and then people will comment like, "Oh, lady, like you look like you've put on some weight," or somebody's the other day was like, look like you've lost some weight, whatever. And at first, if anybody mentioned my weight or they said something about my weight, I would be like, "Oh my God," I would get so much anxiety, I would fear, I would panic, I would just be flipping out. But now it's more like in through one ear, out through the other. Like it doesn't affect me at all. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like it doesn't affect me as much as it used to. And I think that shows a lot of how much I've worked as far as my worthiness and making sure I don't put my value on my weight and my appearance. So that's kind of where, like, even till this day, my family doesn't really comment on my weight. They comment, actually, they never really do. They more comment on, like, lady, when are you gonna get married? Lady, when are you gonna, like it's more like stuff about like life or whatever, but not about my weight or food or anything like that. My dad will ask me every now and then if we want to go hiking or something, but nothing like crazy. It's nothing like that. So I hope that answered your question because I know I went all
Yes.
over the place. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I really liked about what you said was like, for example, like your family or normal eaters or somebody who never had an eating disorder, like they have no idea what the eating disorder is like, and they are so
Just eat.
they are so blind
Just
to
eat.
the diet messages.
Yeah.
So I think for you it was very great that actually you told them what you want them to do or not do, because like they want to help you. I'm sure, like if your family like generally
Oh
just loves
yeah.
you and supports you, like it will be very good to just tell them, look, I'm going through this, and please can you do this and don't do this, because they just don't know what else to say. And another thing, what you said about like now it's like all the comments are from one ear to and out from here, right? And I think here, like as more you work with yourself, like you can build this
Yeah.
resilience, like you can build this kind of like the hater blockers, or like you start to kind of not
The
give a
hater
fuck,
blocker.
right? But the more you
Yeah,
like, you
I
have to
love
work,
that.
you have
Elisa,
to.
we need to make like a sunglass hater blockers.
Yes, wait comment blockers.
I'm waiting on my hater blockers.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
because like there is so many ignorant people in the world. People are
Hmm.
brainwashed by diet. So like
It's yeah.
we can't expect so nobody will comment our weight, because we will forever keep on waiting. But what we can do is build our own hater blockers or comment blockers. Like building the
And
resilience.
it's and I had to come to terms when I realized like the way you deal with negative comments of others is you deal with it, and you again you observe it, which I'm sure we're going to get into, observing and being aware of the resistance. And you have to be aware of don't run away from the resistance and the anxiety that you get when somebody's saying that, because that's just teaching you something. It's teaching you to really build this I don't want to say wall because that's going to reference something else in America, but like it's building this solid boundary of how not to cross your boundaries. Especially being an actress, where because I'm an actress, and it's either like for me, it's amazing to me how like my friends, because I am a plus actress, but how their have friends who are smaller than me who are still considered plus size or obese or overweight in Hollywood, or how Hollywood sees them. And it's just amazing to me. And I'm like, look, if I want to be an actress, knowing where my history has been with an eating disorder, I need to be okay, or I need to find a way to be okay that I'm going to be judged and going to be booked or not booked because of my weight. And that's when I really had to focus on and zero in on self-worth and on bringing my value, working on my talent as an actress, and knowing that it doesn't say anything about me. It's more of a reflection on where the mindset or the culture and the energy of the culture we live in is today. But it's nothing against me. I'm not less of an actress or more of an actress because I'm not a certain amount of weight. And I feel like right now, I think we mentioned this before in previous conversations we've had, but like how like it's really beautifully transitioning into like not only just people of all sizes, but people of all cultures, of all ethnicities. And we're starting to see actual representation of how actual real people live and who our neighbors are. And I had to come to terms like I'm not going to be, I had to literally throw away my dream of ever becoming thin, throw it away. It was like a heartbreak. I'm not going to lie to you. It was like going through a breakup, like with a boyfriend or something. I had to come to terms that I'm never going to be thin. That's the possibility that I'm never going to be thin, and that it's still okay, that everything is still going to be fine. And I'm going to try to live my best life as much as possible and understand that Hollywood is going to see me one way. And if that's something that I think is going to make me unhappy, that I need to quit being an actress. If I feel like that's going to be something that's going to get me back into eating disorder, and where agents tell you to lose weight, casting directors tell you to lose weight, I had to come to terms that if that's going to be something that's going to be a problem for me, it's going to make me unhappy, I need to quit acting. And so then I found a way again through my spiritual awakening to really like find, because I still deal with insecurities, but like and that's every woman, but like it's not like, oh my God, I have anxiety because somebody commented on my weight, or because the breakdown of a role says that the person's overweight. It's not like that anymore. It's like, okay, in through one ear, out through the other.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and what you talked about, it just made me kind of like realize something, is that like we want so hard everybody to come to our side and accepts us as we are, but actually we are taking their side by judging ourselves and not accepting ourselves. So actually what we need to do is to like be on your side, like support yourself, because nobody 100%. Else will do it. Nobody else will do it for you. So you have to meet your own needs. You have to support yourself, because otherwise you are doing 100%. Exactly what they are doing. Yes.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. And then because my acting coaches always tell me, like, when you're an actor, like, the game is dirty. Like, nothing about this business is nice. But again, if you remember why you're doing this in the first place, which for me, my intention is to be a representation for like the right representation or inspiration for Latino people. And then just knowing that is the reason why I'm doing this, it helps me like move past all this BS that Hollywood tells me about, like, you need to be X weight, X size, whatever. So 100%. And then I've learned to be on my side and to be my number one supporter and not expect anybody to. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for yourself. You're responsible for your life.
Yes. And this is the first step of feeling worthy and self-love and everything. To start to support yourself, because you can't wait for anybody else to do it. Like, you need it from 100%. Yourself more than anything. Yes.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. In a society where they tell you that it's your fault, it's your problem, it's no. Yes. Fuck that. Yes. Fuck that.
Yeah. And actually another thing I want to talk about, and I know you love to talk about it, is the fact that, your emotions, and to not suppress your emotions. Like how even the law of attraction, like we love law of attraction, but even this kind of tells you that always feel good and stay positive and don't focus on the negative. And so what do you think about that? Because it's good, but it's kind of like maybe missing one thing.
Lisa, I have an entire YouTube channel about this, but long story short, something that irritates me more than the dieting culture is the fact that we are, like you said, we're told by current law of attraction techniques and traditional law of attraction is like feel good, feel good, feel good. The when like no offense to Abraham Hicks, I love Abraham Hicks, but they focus more on like whenever you think negatively, like think of the next best feeling thought, like immediately run away from that negative emotion. And I did that, girl. I did that for so long, and I'm telling you, it brings more headache. It's like I can't just stop what I'm doing and let me pull up my emotional scale and let's see where we're gonna get higher. It doesn't work like that. You are told in traditional law of attraction and even self-help, like because law of attraction self-help is very interchangeable for some people, but you're told that if you think negative thoughts, if you think negative feelings, run away from it. Like think of the next best feeling thought. Think of the next best feeling thought, and that is just teaching you. That is just a recipe for disaster because just like we've learned with eating disorder, you do not have any control over your mind and your emotional body. And because the mind at the the mind at the end of the day is trying to protect you. Your ego is trying to protect you. And when we can shift our perspective that our emotions are trying to teach us something and it's leading us to expansion instead of, oh no, I got to run away from these negative thoughts, things manifesting becomes so much easier. And at the end of the day, I did all the like when I was researching how to recover from an eating disorder, I would feel good for a week or two. I would like go on a seminar, feel good for a week or two. But I'm telling you, if you have a subconscious block that is manifesting over and over and over in just the same result, just different situation, like the situation with my father telling me I'm not worthy, and then how that manifested into my relationships, even no matter how thin I was, I could not get a boyfriend to save my life because I was so insecure around guys. It manifested over and over and over again until I realized, like, oh my God, this is my block. I have the core belief that I am not worthy because of my weight. And when I realized like I need to start embodying and transforming into the person I do wish, the person I do choose to, that I do resonate with, the ideal version of me. That transition between change, which it's not talked about a lot, where it's like, it's like they tell you to go how to go from point A to point Z, but they don't talk about the in between of how the transition is like with your emotional body and the resistance that comes up when you're changing your habits. I learned that I don't have control over my negative resistance in my emotional body, but I do have control over my reaction to them. And once you realize that you are not your thoughts, you are not your resistance, you think thoughts and you feel negative resistance, but you are not your thoughts. You don't have to identify with that. And when I learned that, and when I learned that it was through observing my subconscious blocks and my negative resistance, I'm telling you, Elisa, once I realized once I learned how to watch my old self, my resistance, my negative thoughts, it was like my skin started clearing up, like my acne was starting to go away. I had no desire for caffeine. I used to live off caffeine every single day. Not that there's nothing wrong with caffeine, but I used to live off coffee every single day. Now I'll drink it, but every now and then, like I'm drinking it today, but I had no need for an external, I had no need for alcohol as much anymore. I had no need, like I said, I had all this like external substances as I was using to cope with, to run away from my negative resistance were starting to disappear. And I know I went a little all over the place, but essentially to answer the question, what I'm trying to say is don't fall for the trap that you need to be positive, be positive. I know me and Elisa have a joke that like happy people don't just like drive down the street and like, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. Like nobody walks around like that every single day. And just understand that shit's going to happen in life. You don't have control over what's going to happen in life. And even when I was recovering from an eating disorder, I thought that once I recovered from an eating disorder, everything in my life was going to be great and wonderful and happy. But life is life. You took care of that chapter. Now it's time to open up a new chapter to live and learn. So the fact of like think positive 100% of the time and be positive, be positive, be positive. That's not only you're setting yourself up for self-sabotage. When you learn unconditional love with yourself and accepting all aspects of you, whether it be negative or positive, and even when you're in the and when you're in the transition of leaving your old self and becoming the new self, like in this case recovering from an eating disorder, is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes, 100%. You're going to have negative thoughts, you're going to have negative resistance beliefs. And I know on your Facebook page, people, there's a lot of people who say like, I've been recovering for a week and I can't get rid of these negative thoughts, like I know I should eat unconditionally. Well, like, of course, 100% negative thoughts are normal, just like overeating is normal, extreme hunger is normal. Just like the more that you eat, the more that your body's the more that your body does not become addicted to food, or the more that your body becomes neutral with food. And that same works with your mind. The more that you allow these thoughts to be there 100% unconditionally, understand that it's normal, the more that they will go away without trying to change them, without trying to be positive or think of the next best feeling thought. The more that you allow them to be there, the more that they will go away. And then, again, what I did when I was recovering was remembering that my body is with me, not against me. God is with me, not against me. As the negative resistance and the negative thoughts are there, I would learn to observe it and watch it and just remember, God is with me, not against me. My body is with me, not against me. Again, over time, it went away. I went all over the place with that, but you know how passionate I am about
Yes.
this traditional self-help and law of attraction. It just irritates me so much how it's so misconstructed, honestly. So I went all over the place. I hope that I made my point, everyone.
Yeah, definitely. And I think what really maybe made me think was that, for example, if you have a child, then it's going to be very unhealthy to try to shut up a child when they're crying, and like they need something, like something is wrong. So rather, what you want to do, I don't have children, by the way, but it's just like how I understood it in my brain. Like, you don't want to just like shut up them, like, yeah, like just shut up, think positive, right? Like you want to come from this unconditional loving place and just like
empathy,
like talk with them and try to understand like how you can help, blah blah blah, right? So over time, like if you resolve the deeper issue, what's going on, like the child is gonna be back to their balanced, like normal self, but you don't want to shut down those emotions. And one other thing I have really learned is that like when the emotion doesn't come out physically, for example, with crying or expressing your emotions, it actually comes out with in a disease in your body, for example, like with some aches or I don't know, skin diseases or
for
cancer,
me it was acne,
whatever, because like this is the emotional, like it stays stuck in your body and you can't ignore it. Like you have to express it. And what we mean here, and I think what you mean as well, is that to not just like let the emotion be. For example, yeah, I suck. Like I suck. No, it's more like from a compassionate way, like observe it from a distance. And this is like entirely different mindset than like, yeah, just accept my bad emotion without dealing with. No, it's like just change the mindset. You accept it, but with totally different, like loving mindset. Right. Okay. So now I want to ask you, we talked about not suppressing your emotions, but also I believe in law of attraction. You believe in law of attraction. So how do you think they work together without suppressing your emotions, but actually having a positive mindset towards your future and your goals?
Yeah. 100%. So it all starts with your intention. So like, for example, in this situation right here, let's say I intend to recover from an eating disorder. So you would of course think of the intention and of course the action steps that is required for you to recover from an eating disorder. And of course, maybe choose an affirmation or mantra that you 100% want to believe. And of course, it's through awareness as well. So again, I have an entire channel on how this works, but pretty much for me, awareness is where the transition or where the change really does begin to happen. Being aware of what your old stories are, being aware of what your limiting beliefs are, and being aware of what you've been conditioned to think or to believe. And then of course, also being aware of your new story, what it is that you want to believe, and again, taking action to adhere to that. I will say as well, though, that because today's law of attraction, they focus on feel good, feel good, feel good, that what you resist persists. If you, like me, if you don't take care of your subconscious blocks, I don't want to say take care, but if you don't quote unquote heal, and I'm very loose when I say heal, because healing already means like you're already telling yourself where you're at is not good enough. But when you work on healing your subconscious blocks and learn to integrate them, I should say, manifesting actually becomes a hell of a lot easier. Because if you don't heal your subconscious blocks, you're going to get the same thing over and over and over again, just under a different circumstance, and same result, just different circumstance. If you don't heal your subconscious blocks, if you don't integrate your subconscious blocks, you may feel good, like maybe you watch an Abraham Hicks video, or you write a vision statement. You may feel good for a week or two. Like, for example, I'm speaking from my experience, but then eventually your negative thoughts and emotions will begin to creep up little by little. And then once you realize that they're starting to come again, you're like, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be thinking these thoughts. I'm not supposed to be thinking these thoughts. And that's why I'm saying, like, feel good, be positive, just doesn't really work unless you realize that what your old story is and what you choose your new story to begin. So once you set the intention, let me just keep this short. Once you set the intention and you start taking action, you write a list of things that your ideal self would be doing. And, you repeat your affirmations or your mantra. Then, of course, during change, when we're changing our habits, what happens? The resistance starts to pop up. You're maybe doing something out of your comfort zone. And maybe like in the case when you're starting to eat out with friends, when you're recovering from an eating disorder, you have your mind telling you like, oh no, this is too much food. Do you know how many carbs this is in? Oh my God, you already ate 2 hours ago. Why are you eating again? Again, you're going out of your comfort zone, something that you're not used to, that you've developed a habit of doing. So when you're breaking a habit, the resistance is obviously going to be there. Just be aware of it. Awareness, just even being aware of it is key. It's golden. You're golden if you are aware of your old story and you allow it to be there. I'm telling you guys, over time, the net resistance will go away. But again, as Elisa talks about on her YouTube channel as well, how you reprogram your mind is you also have to take action. And because that's through action is where you begin to reprogram your subconscious mind, and it begins to get wired new experiences and new feelings and new beliefs and stuff. But I guess to keep it short, how you heal but also focus on be positive, or the law of attraction, is awareness, intention, and taking action. To really boil down to what I just said, it's through those things. And yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't speak enough of how I wish this was elaborated more on in the self-help and the law of attraction community, because we think you're not practicing unconditional love by only accepting yourself when you're thinking positive. It's through the negative side of us that needs, like Elisa said, it's our ego and our negative beliefs that need empathy. They are just trying to take care of us. When we learn to empathize with them, I know I can tell you guys from my experience, when I was recovering again the second time, and I listened to Lisa's stuff, and I, like, for example, I would eat like something that was like not in my macros or whatever. I remember telling myself, like, look, I understand where you're coming from. I'm not trying to change it. Do not try to change your negative. Don't come in with the expectation that your negative thoughts are going to go away when you do this, because that's a recipe for disaster. But I would just tell myself, look, I understand where you're coming from. I know you're scared. Believe me, our body has our back. Our body, if our body was really against us, we would not be alive right now. So just understand that our body loves us unconditionally. And believe me, if eating everything that you wanted was bad for you, Elisa would be out of business. So I remember just telling myself that. And again, over time it did. And even dealing with the weight gain, like, I understand that, the weight gain is scary. Believe me, we live in a society where it's looked down upon. Just understand that our body needs it for a reason. It wouldn't just gain weight just for the heck of it to make us miserable. So I understand where you're coming from, and I love you so much. and keep it moving, that kind of thing. So, and even if you don't want to do that, if that doesn't feel right for some reason, just being aware of it and just like watching the negative thoughts and emotions, like, like you're at the park and you see a family strolling by, just with that neutrality is already good enough with that as well. But I would say, like Elisa says, empathize with yourself. So
Yeah, and I believe it to be so true that like we have so many parts in ourselves, like the positive parts or the negative parts, and I even know that there is a therapy that's called parts therapy, and this is kind of exactly what you do. You identify the different parts in you, the negative voice, blah blah blah, and you kind of give it a chance to speak, like telling the part like, I hear you, what is your intention, and then you hear like the part is telling you that, like, to protect you, whether it's even for the fear of weight gain, like, I'm trying to protect you, I'm trying to make you feel safe in a world, I'm trying to make you feel loved, I'm trying to make you feel worthy, but it's just an unhealthy way it's achieved. But this is the positive intention, and actually if you identify the positive intention, you can ask the part, like, if there would be a good, healthy, productive way to achieve the positive intention, like get love, for example, like, would you be interested to do it? And actually, most time the negative part or whatever, it says like, I would be interested to do it, but just I never knew that other way existed. But actually you identify the new way because you finally listened that this is the positive intention and this is what it wants from you. It doesn't want to hurt you, but that actually it wants like the best thing for you.
Well, yes, I'm telling you, you have to empathize with your thoughts. Like I said, because I'm one of the administrators for your Facebook page, and I know some girls will be like, like, or some people will say like, oh, I've been recovering for a week or two and I've gained X weight, and I know weight gain is normal, but I'm not supposed to be thinking like this. And I have to stop them and be like, just understand that your worry and your fear and anxiety is 100% normal. And the only thing you can do, because we all want to, when somebody's asked, how do you deal with the weight gain? Well, I hate to say, but you have to deal with it, and you have to learn to observe it and be aware of the anxiety and the fear, because everybody wants like, oh, just deal with it by doing this and expecting like a positive, something positive, but it doesn't really work like that. But just if you empathize with your negative side of you, and you are practicing unconditional love, and as Elisa said, and I meant to touch on it as well, at the end of the day, we want to be thin or we want to lose weight because we think it's going to make us happier, and we think it's going to make us feel good, and it's going to bring us that dream life, which it doesn't. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Like, even like I said, even me post recovery, like, my life is not perfect. Unfortunately, like, I mean, am I thankful for my life and my family? Absolutely, 100%. But it's not perfect. And once I learned to let go of perfectionism, and when I learned to let go that shit's gonna happen, I'm telling you guys, letting go and observing my negative thoughts and beliefs and being aware of them, over time, they did go away, and manifestation became a lot easier. But if you come into the expectation that, once I'm thin, I'm going to be happy and pretty and everybody's going to want me, like, no, that's an illusion that the dieting industry has fed us, and they do it through advertising, and they do it through all these poor celebrities that unfortunately all they think about as their self-worth is based on their looks and how they look. That's just, oh God, that's just living hell. Like, and whether you're plus size, no matter what size you are, or you're underweight, whatever the case may be, if you learned to think of like, why is it that you want to be thin? Why is it that you want to be this X weight? Maybe you want to feel happy, you want to feel attractive. If you, like Elisa said, if you focus on what in your life you have already that makes you feel that way, and you shift your perspective to that and focus on that, like, you will see over time that the need for, like I said, for me, like, even for me, like, the need for losing weight and being attractive starts to go away, because you're so focused on living your life, and that all that is just all that's really like scratching. It's like taking care of the surface level. It's not taking care of the root problem. It has to start with the root problem. Once you work on fixing the root problem, the external will begin to reflect that. I promise you guys, once you focus on the core values, the eating and the weight and the whatever problems you're dealing with financially, career-wise, romantic-wise, they will begin to reflect that. I promise you guys, because your reality is a reflection of what you believe to be true for yourself. So I went on tangent.
Yes.
I went on tangent, but it's fine.
Yes. And one thing I want to like share, and I think this is what we talked about in our last interview a little bit, but
Yes.
that one never happened. So so yeah, but I just remembered it. We talked about, or maybe like I asked you a question about like how the body positive community, kind of the common approach is like love your body, like you need to love your appearance, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And this is like a good maybe intention, like you need to love your body. You are beautiful exactly as you are. But actually, if you like fix or heal or whatever the core beliefs, then your appearance is kind of like, it's not even important anymore, because you love yourself
100%.
unconditionally. But otherwise, like just loving your appearance without fixing your core issues is just gonna be like dealing with symptoms, right?
It's dealing with the surface. It's not to the core. I'm so happy you bring that up, because that just reminded me of my friend. We've always been on the opposite. I've always dealt with like being overweight, and then she's always been, I've been told to like, oh, get on a diet. While she's naturally thin, and she's been told, like, oh my God, do you eat? Do you even eat? And she's like, no matter how much I try to eat, like I can't gain weight, like and I remember when I was recovering, I asked her, I was like, because it was like the whole body positive, and a lot of like bloggers out there tell you like focus on body positivity and blah, 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 blah. And then I remember asking her, I'm like, let me ask her, because I've never mentioned, she never ever talks or focuses on her weight. Like she's just very neutral about it. And I asked her, and I was like, let me ask you, because we've been on the opposite sides of the spectrum our entire lives. I'm like, do you ever focus on like body positive, or like when you see like girls like inspo, like fit inspo on Instagram, like what do you think? Like, she's like, honestly, she's like, I never really think about that. Now that you ask that, she's like, I look at girls on Instagram who are like fitspo, and I don't really care. I'm just like, good for them, but I don't really care like to look like that. And then I'm like, so what do you think about, like, what about body positive? And she's like, accepting your weight, or like, whatever. And then she's like, honestly, like, I don't really even think about my weight. Like, every now and then I'll be like, I wish I had a little bit, like muscle or whatever. But it's like, it comes and goes. It's like gone in a millisecond. But she's like, I don't really focus on that. Like, she's like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't really think about it or focus on that. And I'm like, oh, I was like, interesting, because again, like she has other problems in her life that she has to deal with. She has other stuff going on in her life that she has to deal with, that I'm like, and once I worked on my self-worth and my value as a human being, everything, like the whole like body positive or whatever, like I'm like, yes, go girl, yes, boo boo, you do it. But but I'm like, for me, it's like, keep it moving. It's not really like I have to love my body 100% unconditionally, or whatever. It's not like that. Like, again, as Elisa said, and as I say, like, once you take care of the core belief of the root problem, everything else begins to reflect, and you'll notice that your attention starts to go to things that you're actually passionate about, that you actually love. Like for me, it would be like, animals, my YouTube channel. It would be reading. It would be like singing, acting. The whole like weight stuff for me, it's like, whatever, it is what it is.
yeah, thank you so much for talking about it, because this is what I have thought about like for a long time, and I never knew how to word it. But actually, one other blog I really like, and like the Beauty Redefined, like I love their message and approach, and they talk about for example, like I think, like when you have had eating disorders and you have been so focused on your body and your appearance, then actually the body positivity, yes, it's good. Like love your body diversity, you know, like having this exposure, it's good. But at the same time, it kind of becomes another body focus, like focus on your body, focus on your appearance. But actually
That's why I didn't focus on it.
would
I'm
be
sorry.
to,
I hate to interrupt you. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I hate to interrupt you, but that's why I didn't focus on body positive, because it was triggering for me. So,
yeah.
but go ahead. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Yes, and this is what I resonated with, and I know I can't speak with, you know, women who are plus size and you, and I feel like it's not even my place. But I am happy that you confirmed that as well. That it can become obsession again, like focusing on your body again about the appearance. Exactly what the eating disorder was about. So much about the appearance, but actually focusing on like who you are as a person, what you love, what your
Exactly.
body's function is, like your body is an instrument, not an ornament, and like this is
Yes,
like,
I love that.
yeah, this is what they say, the beauty redefined. It's not my quote, but it's like it resonates with me so much, and I think this would be the goal to body positivity, to kind of like don't focus on the body and appearance, but actually focus on who you are and what the body can do. Is there something you want to say for the maybe the viewers who also struggle with being plus size and recovering from an eating disorder, it's kind of like needing to accept their like sad reality or something? Yes.
Yeah, well, pretty much what I remember what I was going to say, but pretty much tying into that as well, like I come to a point now, like again, I'm not like you said, I'm happy, but I am to the point now where, because like I said the other day, somebody mentioned that I gained weight, while another person mentioned that I've lost weight. So when somebody used to mention like, oh, you look like you've lost weight, I'd be like, oh, like what a high, you know, like I feel so good. But now it's like very neutral to me. Now I'm just like, okay, and your point, you know, like I'm just like, it's whatever to me. And so I know that was a celebration in of itself, because I'm like, oh, like I don't care if somebody says that I've lost or gained weight anymore. Like that's awesome. Pretty much, but pretty much to all of my plus size girls, because I know there's this, well, to everybody, but pretty much to the girls who are bigger or plus size. I know, I feel you, girl. I feel you. And I know there's this representation or this idea or model that when you recover from an eating disorder, you're supposed to be looks a certain way or whatever. Just understand that I don't want to. Just understand that when you focus on the core beliefs, on your core value, on who you are as a person, everything begins to take care of its place. Coming from a plus sized girl who's an actress, who's told day in and day out, or is judged by her appearance, you will get to a point where you're not honestly worried about your weight, and you're not worried about how you look, and you will be living your life. Comments that people make about your weight, about and this may go for anybody, but comments you make about your weight, the fear of being even bigger or gaining more weight, that fear, that anxiety will go away the more that you focus on taking care of the root problem, because the external circumstance will happen. And I just want them to understand that it's the fear again is normal, but when you have an eating disorder, you have an eating disorder, and no matter what size you are, you need help and you need to recover. Not someone who's smaller is more entitled to recovery than you are. Like you are 100% valid. Because I had this fear that like, oh, I'm bigger size, people are gonna laugh at me if I tell them I have an eating disorder. But just understand that like you 100% are. You need to recover, and you need you need to be the example to and the inspiration that this world needs for recovery, for English recovery in a brainwashed culture that we live in, where it's like a certain size, a certain background, a certain ethnicity has eating disorders and they're entitled to recover. It's bullshit. Like it's bullshit. So yeah, I don't know what I was trying to say with that, but I hope that made sense. Again, the representation of plus size when going through an eating disorder recovery is very small or barely there. But again, work on the core on the root, everything else will begin to take care of itself.
Yeah, because like focusing on your body and the problem with your weight, this is just a symptom actually of something much deeper going on, and when you fix that
100%,
or heal that or whatever the word is, then everything will kind of find its
take care
own
of itself.
place. Yeah, yeah.
Take care of itself.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And read Elisa's book.
Yeah. So where can people find you? Yes, maybe you can talk about that.
Yes, guys. So, I'm sure Elisa will put the links somewhere along the lines, but pretty much, my YouTube, as I said in the beginning, it's dedicated to law of attraction, spiritual awakening. If you want to go a little bit more deeper into subconscious blocks, how to identify subconscious blocks, how to heal, how to observe your thoughts, etc. My entire YouTube channel is dedicated to that. And again, I try to keep it as simple as possible because I think a lot of the law of attraction stuff is very overcomplicated now, and people started to go way deep. But it really is. I incorporate the mantra less is more for me, and keeping it simple, along with law of attraction techniques and that kind of thing. And I'm very passionate about taking care of the core belief of the root problem, and again the exterior will begin to reflect that. So yeah, that's pretty much what my YouTube channel is about. And I think it was something that I wish I would have known sooner, especially when I relapsed. Something that I wish I would have known sooner, as far as what subconscious blocks is present in my life that makes me keep wanting to go on a diet, and makes me keep wanting to lose weight. It makes me keep wanting to drink alcohol. It makes and so I went through my spiritual awakening, and like I said, I'm your girl for all law of attraction and spiritual awakening stuff. And hopefully, I can't stress enough, do what resonates with you at the end of the day. Don't think that you should be obliged to do it one way because this one person says it, this other. Do what resonates with you at the end of the day, because your intuition is never, ever wrong. Follow your intuition.
Yes. And unbrainwash.
And read brainwashed.
Yes.
Literally read, and I will say read
Yes.
brainwashed. Read brainwashed.
Yes.
I am telling you, read her book. Read Elisa's book. I'm telling you, I wish I would have had that book from the very, very beginning. I wish I would have had that book. It's something that I wish, if everybody in this planet read her book, the diet industry would be out of business. I'm telling you guys, it's so good.
Thank you so much, and we will put all the links down in the description box where you can find more about Leydi. And thank you so much for this interview. It was amazing. So many good tips and
so many good things
we shared, or you shared, and yeah. So thanks a lot.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.